There is no way you can survive color out of space, and here's why. Welcome to Superstitious. Today we'll be exploring 5 main reasons why you cannot beat color out of space. And just to add insult to injury, we'll also be exploring 3 things you may think you can do to survive, and why you're completely wrong. But before we get to the reasons, let's do a quick recap of the story. Color Out of Space tells the story of the Gardner family as they go up against an eldritch horror from outer space. The family consists of parents Nathan and Teresa, daughter Lavinia, and sons Benny and Jack. They're living out in the sticks in Massachusetts as they take a break from the city so Teresa can recuperate from breast cancer surgery. The nearest town is Arkham, whose mayor wants to build a water reservoir that it would include the Gardner's land. We also meet Ward, a hydrologist who's there to test the water and make sure there's nothing wrong with it. You know, like an eldritch horror that wants to kill you in the most beautiful way possible. One night, a meteor-type object crashes into the Gardner's land, which turns out to be an alien being that causes the complete destruction of everything around it by the end of the film. We also meet Ezra, a hermit that lives in the backwoods of the Gardner's land and is perfectly played by Tommy Chong. The movie is based on HP Lovecraft's story of the same name. However, we'll mostly be going off the 2020 movie version and not the original short story for this video, except for some clarifications. The alien being, which I'll be referring to as the Color from now on, effectively takes over the Gardner family and destroys everyone and everything around it, except for Ward. This would be the time when I come up with various things the Gardner family should have done to survive, except that there is nothing they could have done. From the moment the Color landed, they were all doomed, and you would be too if you were in their shoes. So the following are not going to be 5 ways to beat the Color out of space. Instead, it will be 5 obstacles stopping you from beating the Color, and why you would die trying. The first obstacle against you is the very nature of the Color. Usually when people think of aliens, they have some sort of humanoid physical form that makes it easy to battle. Well, not necessarily easy, but at least knowing they're tangible lets us know that they can be damaged. The Color is nothing like that. As a true alien being, its form, or lack thereof, is completely unknown to us. We don't even know what color it is. The short story describes it as globules of color, but they cannot truly describe it as it falls outside our visible spectrum. The reason why the movie's director Richard Stanley chose magenta as the color's color is because magenta is not part of the visible spectrum of light. When we see magenta, we're really just combining reddish and bluish wavelengths together. And so, when looking at the Color, there's no accurate way to describe it. It is a completely alien form, and there's no way to combat it on a physical level, since we wouldn't even know where to begin. The second obstacle that we have to face is the Color's ability to manipulate electronic equipment, phone lines, internet connections, and so on. Whether the Color does it on purpose as a way to keep the inhabitants of the land in place, or if it's simply a byproduct of its nature, we don't know. But we do know that it's very effective at it. We first see these effects as Ward's radio goes haywire along with his car. We then see it affecting the Gardner's internet connection, phone lines, and car battery. By disrupting all of these signals, the Color makes it impossible for the Gardner family to either escape on their own or communicate with the outside world. When you're all alone against a powerful alien entity, your chances of survival are slim at best. The third obstacle involves the Color's time manipulation abilities. The Color has the ability to control the time and space around it. We see it when Benny puts away the alpacas, but they reappear outside, as if Benny had never put them away in the first place. We see it again when Lavinia tries to clean up her mom's mess, only to end up with a sink full of blood and an unexpected time skip. Even Benny experiences it when he goes out to look for their dog in the daytime and suddenly turns to night.
Like 1 second it was daytime, and then all of a sudden it was so dark I couldn't even find the house.
Again, we don't know if the Color is doing this on purpose, as the alien entity is neither good nor evil, it just is. However, being unable to get a handle on time can make it impossible to escape, as you don't even know when you are. The fourth obstacle is water pollution. One thing we do know about the Color is its ability to infect water sources and any living thing that relies on water. The obvious problem is that every living thing relies on water to survive. A human being can only survive about 3 days without drinking water, and that's not taking into account the amount of energy spent in trying to escape an eldritch being from outer space. The simple fact that the color can infect one of our most essential sources of life lets us know we're fucked beyond belief. Not even trees can escape the color's infectious water, as we see in this accidentally hilarious moment. Finally, by infecting us so effectively, the color can make us go insane and lose complete control of who we are. We start cutting off our fingers, carving runes into our skin, and smelling weird shit everywhere we go. It can also mutate living beings into interesting creatures or nightmarish monsters. Facing off against it means we lose complete and total control, rendering any efforts of fight or flight useless. Now, after hearing those reasons, some of you may think you can still survive an encounter with the color. And I'm here to tell you that you're completely insane. To try to convince you out of your madness, I've precogged 3 different scenarios where you may think you can survive, but really have no chance at all, and I'll explain why. The most obvious example of survival comes in the form of our young hydrologist named Ward. Ward had a couple of things going for him. He never drank the water, and unless I missed it, his camp was not in the Gardner's land where the color landed. If you were playing the role of Ward, you would totally survive, right? Think again. Even though he stays mostly outside the color's influence, Ward shows up to the Gardners along with the Arkham sheriff on the night where everything goes down. Everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong by then, and Ward is thick in the middle of it. So how come he survived? The answer is simple: plot armor. The story is told from his point of view after the events took place. In other words, there was no way he was ever going to die. And there is no logical way he would have survived that night without the plot armor protecting him. Even the sheriff gets picked off by the Evil Dead tree. Yet, Ward somehow makes it out of the Gardner house, even as it's all being absorbed into the color. Not likely. The second false hope of a solution is to live as a complete hermit, just like Ezra. You go to the woods, make your own hut, and avoid water and animals at all times. Since every vegetation and animal in the land is contaminated by the color, you can't eat anything around you. So what do? You cannibalize yourself and drink your own urine. At least until the color goes back to where it came from. As desirable as this lifestyle may seem to you, I've got disappointing news. Eating yourself and drinking your own urine is bad for you. After doing some Google searches that will definitely make advertisers think I'm some kind of kinky survivalist, I found out that yes, consuming your waste is in fact bad for you. You may be able to starve yourself until the color leaves, but you need to stay hydrated.
I've got to piss. I'm gonna take a mouthful of it just to give me a little psychological edge.
Unlike what dual survivalist Joe tells us, drinking your own urine is more likely to dehydrate you than hydrate you.
I'm not doing this to stay hydrated. I am doing this as a psychological edge just to get some wetness in my mouth and swallow a little bit.
Besides containing a bunch of waste products, urine contains a good amount of salts that will dehydrate you faster than if you drank nothing at all.
Urine is double the sodium of normal body saline, plus toxic urea. Plus, when the body dehydrates, the urine output goes down. So there's no way in hell that your body can produce enough piss to stay hydrated.
But let's say you're safe to drink your own piss and eat your own leg. Are you good to go? The answer is no. Simply because we don't know the nature of the color. Yes, we know it affects the water and living beings, but that doesn't mean it's restricted to those specific means to spread. It may be able to infect the air through pollen or dust, and you have to breathe just about always to survive, which means you just ate your own foot for nothing. But maybe you weren't thinking of being a handsome narrator, or a self-eating hermit at all. Maybe you were more practical, and thought you would just simply take your family and leave the second a meteorite crash landed in your yard. Surely, you would be able to survive the color, and let Ezra and G-Spot be the only victims of this alien being, right? Not so fast. Remember that one thing Nathan kept repeating over and over throughout the movie.
I am so sorry about the smell. Can you smell it?
Face.
God, what is that smell?
What smell?
It's exactly the same smell as the cancer ward where my father was. You know, death, disinfectant.
By the end of the movie, it's clear that he's the only one that can smell something foul, which means that the smell is simply a sign of his madness brought about by the color's influence. But did you notice when he first started smelling something? All the way at the beginning, when he first walks up to the color.
You know, I've been smelling ever since the night that thing hit the farm.
Right from the get-go, the color is influencing and affecting the Gardner family. As soon as they went to find out what the crash was, they lost. As soon as you enter the color's presence, it takes control of you, and once it does that, there is no hope for survival. There's only one way to quote-unquote survive through this ordeal, and that's to become a
Cronenberg's walking around down there, Morty.
But is that really surviving, or did you just simply become your own asshole? If you can think of a way to actually survive the color out of space without turning into an inside-out blob, let me know in the comments below. We'll see you next time.